All right, so today we're going to talk about gathering evidence that you're creative. Gathering evidence you're creative. Um, there was a woman that was in a workshop of mine, and we were talking and opened up to Q&A, and she's like, well, what if you're just not creative? What if you're not good? And I took a risk. I didn't even know her. We were about halfway through a 2-day workshop, and I took a risk and I said, well, you've shared some of your poems, right? And she's like, yes. And I said, and you can tell like when people are like blatantly lying to you. And she's like, yes. And I said, did you ever receive feedback that someone like genuinely enjoyed your work? And she paused and she goes, yeah, I have. There was one friend that was part of the writing group. She was really touched and really it moved her. And I said, and you could tell that was real. She just wasn't, just saying that because you knew her. And she's like, oh no, I could feel it. It was real. So I said to everyone, just a moment ago, you were just saying that you're not creative and you're not sure if any of your stuff is good. And then just took a moment and you remembered the specific story, incident that you really knew was real about how significant, important, potent was your poetry with this other person that actually moved them, right? So just to let you know, I've done this. I think every writer, artist has done this, right? In the house, I have a book stand. This book sits on it, right? So sometimes during the day, or if I'm doing this or I'm doing that, I walk that, oh, I see it, and I wrote a book, right? I remind myself, right? So you want to gather evidence. So if you've actually completed something, great. I mean, I think that's why actors and directors and musicians actually put the award up on their mantle or somewhere in their office. So they see it every day, right? No matter what's happening, no hardship, challenge, this is up, this is up. They look up and they're like, oh, yeah, right? I've done some good work. People have enjoyed that, right? It's powerful. Gather the evidence. If you haven't completed anything, that's fine, but we can do the like I just did with that woman to demonstrate with that story. Way before Space Spiders on Prom Day was completed, I belonged to the writing group, and we would write, and I'd share something, and people would laugh and be like, "Oh, I want more." And at first, I was like, "Really? Yeah." And as it happened more and more, those stories then became the new story that would loop in my head, right? And that's what we're talking about. There is an article about teenagers or adults often use special sports moments, right? And I may have mentioned this in the past, but this is powerful. So if it's the second time you're hearing it, really embrace it. And they would remember a sports moment, like it scored a touchdown or even just made one basket, even if the team didn't win, or they blocked something, or they blocked a goal playing, football, some soccer from Cleveland, Ohio. Um, and they would take that one memory and replay it over and over in their head, and that actually helps build self-esteem. So that's what we have an opportunity when gathering evidence. Remember the different writer groups, remember the different times in Let's Create Tuesday where we share a little piece of it and someone genuinely says, I'd like to read that. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Or wow, thank you for showing that picture, that drawing. That's so beautiful or moving or whatever that is. That's the evidence we got to start gathering, so that counteracts everything else from our past, right? All the teachers, all the this and all the that, and all the not feeling worthy, all of the comparisons that we did. Because trust me, when we were little, even though we may have had fire and everything, ideally our skill set has increased, right? I mean, I wrote my first story, I think, when I was in first grade with David Keitel, right? And vampires trying to get over a bridge and attack these Frankenstein monsters, right? And there was like 10 words in the whole story. So I had the fun and the creativity. I would like to think my skill set and my storytelling in Space Spiders on Prom Day is much better than those 10 words, right? I mean, there's special magic in that story as is. A reading from my first book. The vampires turned in bats and tried to get to the graves. Bang, poof, bang, poof. but the trolls shot them. Bad troll. So that's from the past we can gather. We can also gather evidence from the present, and that's getting feedback, right? And that's sharing. So, so I know it kind of overlaps a little bit, but the idea is the stories of the past can fuel me, and if I'm working on something and I'm not sure, did they like it, did not, I can be in my head all day, right? It's not until I handed Space Spiders on prom day to Connor's two good friends. They were in middle school at the time when it was being really written and getting done, and they loved it, right? Two guys. And one time Elijah was over for dinner, and he just started laughing. I look and he goes, "Oh, I just thought of a part of Space Spiders on prom day." And I was like, "Oh, which part?" And then he looked around, and the book's a little rude, right? And and Caden was younger, and Amy's there, and he's like, "Oh, well, it's not that rude, but to a teenager, it could be rude, right?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'll tell you later," right? So that's fantastic. That's evidence that I can bank, right? And then when I have a doubt or not sure if something's going well. So gather evidence, take a moment, maybe write things down, create, some people call it a brag book. Some people call it, was a brag book, something else, some kind of other positive word. Some people don't like brag book. Don't call it that. Call it awesome doing job journal, whatever works for you. But gather evidence and let those ideas and thoughts circle around in your head, so then that'll help you continue and share and enjoy. Oh, precious.